Today's video will be a bit different because it's a list, but it's not a list of movies to recommend. It's more of a list of just 10 plagiarism stories about Hollywood or other people taking things that don't belong to them. So it's going to be under topics in my playlist, but if you don't know, I'm an aspiring screenwriter. I've read many scripts, I've watched thousands of movies, and it's one of my biggest passions, but something that every aspiring screenwriter or normal screenwriter is afraid of is plagiarism. You know, there's a story of people, worried about some executive, some slimy, sneaky guy taking your idea and taking it for themselves and morphing it, and it becomes really insidious because theft in the industry is a real thing, but it's also the way that they do it. Usually it's not taking a script in order to sell a script, it's called a spec script, and you write a script and then you start trying to send it out to Hollywood or production companies to try to pick it up and sell them the script. And so that means someone has to read it and reject it or accept it. And doing so, it'll across someone, who's a little bit unscrupulous, and they might take the idea, but they're not going to just steal your script. They're not going to just take the script, change the name and be like, this is mine, because that's easily proven. What they'll do is they'll hire someone to morph it, change it just enough, and use your skeleton of the bare bones and then change everything so that it sort of becomes a sort of morphs into their own thing, but it's stolen from your idea. And that makes it worse, because if that movie gets made and you find out about it, it also tanks the chances of your script being made anyway. And not just the loss of money and credibility and authorship, but also the opportunity for work. So it's a very scary thing, and it has even happened to some heavyweights like Craig Mazin before he wrote Chernobyl and Green Book. Early days he wrote parody films, comedies, and he said that early on he wrote something that was stolen, but he didn't make a big deal of it because if you do sue someone for stealing your work, you'll get a small amount of money. You'll get, that's if you win, but also it might kill your chances of furthering your career in Hollywood, because people aren't going to want to read your scripts because you're that guy who sues people. What if you have a coincidence or a parallel thought sort of thing going on? So this is 10 of just random, my ones that I thought were interesting, plagiarism Hollywood stories. Right, so the first one's actually an urban legend. A lot of people don't know this, but the Wachowskis were sued by Sophia Stewart, who said that they stole her idea for The Matrix from a science fiction magazine, and that she won and got an undisclosed settlement. But apparently this is an urban legend. It's a myth. It's not proven. The only source of this is a website called Pajiba back in the day, and a lot of people copied that article, but they did not list a source. So a lot of people think that the Wachowskis are thieves, but they're not. They never, if they got sued, they won, because Sophia Stewart never won. And then she would go on to try to sue James Cameron, and then she would sue her own lawyer for $3 billion, which is something that's kind of ridiculous, because the more money you ask for, the more frivolous your lawsuit seems. It happens anytime. I think there was a lawyer in Toronto who tried to sue his former sugar baby for like $188 million or something. It was like a ridiculous amount. So obviously he got thrown out, he got disbarred, but it sort of ruins your legitimacy when you ask for so much money. So this is the first story. This one is another interesting one. It's Together, the movie directed by Michael Shanks and written by him. He is a Australian, I think, director who had an idea about a couple who become fused together, and Alison Brie and Dave Franco are married in real life, and they produced and signed on for it. So it's a really interesting body horror movie, but they got sued by Patrick Henry Phelan, a man who says that his movie Better Half is very similar. His story was the same. It's about a one-night stand that becomes a little bit hectic when they don't really vibe that well, but then they end up getting stuck together. And the main sort of showcase for their lawsuit for legitimacy was that the song Two Become One is from a certain album, but the wrong album was used in the Better Half movie, and then the Together movie does the same mistake, so they copied a mistake, which would be damning, but apparently they might have lost because Better Half is more of a indie comedy movie. It's not really a body horror. It's more of a I've got stuck to someone I don't like, the very common trope we've seen in like animated shows, or streamers do handcuff challenges where they're handcuffed with someone for a day. So it's not completely original, and since the differing of genres is enough, and Michael Shanks, I think, was able to prove that he wrote it before he read or watch the film Better Half. And also, what really hurts the Better Half lawsuit is that the movie's not unreleased. You can't watch the movie. You can't rent it. It played at a film festival for a bit, and then it's just on a shelf somewhere. And I'm guessing that if they were to release the movie, people would watch the movie and go, yeah, that's not like together at all. So the Patrick lost that one. This next one's kind of surprising. It's the Nightcrawler movie, directed by Dan Gilroy, who wrote it, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as the Lou Bloom, the sort of sociopath, skinny guy who gets into being a stringer, where you use a camera and you drive around and you film accidents or crime scenes and try to sell it to news organizations. And he meets an unscrupulous lady who wants like the worst stuff, and it's, you know, a lot of different themes. It's a really good movie. You know, it has a really good cast. But Richard Dutcher is a man who did a very similar indie drama called Falling, and that movie came out and he tried to sue. He lost. I guess it might be a budget thing, because Nightcrawler is like a big budget Hollywood film with like accidents and blood and big stars and big set pieces, while the indie film is probably more of a psychological thriller drama, mostly talking about a man driving around doing the stringer stuff. So this one was thrown out and Dutcher lost. This next one has the least amount of info because it's from the Screenwriting Reddit. A man accused Netflix of stealing his idea for Untamed. He said he wrote a park ranger murder mystery, so it's a very niche sort of job, and it takes place at one of those hot spring places, you know, really rural areas. I forget what they're called. Springs, right? And then apparently didn't get picked up, and then Netflix made a show or a movie, I think with Eric Bana or something. So not a lot of info for this one. He obviously didn't sue because it wasn't in the news, but this is, you know, one of those scary things where it could be parallel thought, where, you know, park ranger movies are not that niche. I mean, anyone can come up with an idea, but it also could be one of those nasty things where someone reads an idea for a pilot or a movie, and they just take the concept and write a whole new thing, and then it looks like you didn't steal at all. And that's one of the most insidious parts of stealing and plagiarism. Same for like comedians, because if you're like a comedian and you say a new joke and someone steals your joke and uses it, then you can't use it anymore because it looks like you're stealing from them, and sort of loses your opportunity. And that's why joke stealing in the comedy world is so taboo as well. Yojimbo is a samurai classic directed by Akira Kurosawa, and Sergio Leone actually remade the movie, but as a western, as a spaghetti western called A Fistful of Dollars, and it literally is the same movie. And I thought that maybe it was a sanctioned legal remake. It wasn't. Sergio Leone just straight up stole the idea and changed the genre, which is not enough to warrant the lawsuit. So Leone actually lost the lawsuit. Kurosawa even sent him a letter saying, like, I like your movie, it's really good, but you basically copied me and I'm going to sue you and win. And he did. So that's an example of not like a sanctioned remake. It was just straight up taken, and changing the genre is not enough because the exact plot is the same anyway. Just wanted to make an amendment. It was actually $100,000 and 15% royalties for Akira Kurosawa winning that lawsuit. This next one's pretty funny. It showed up a couple of times. Buck Woodall accused Disney of stealing his idea for Bucky the Surfer Boy, which was later turned into the movie Moana, which is a billion-dollar movie. So he tried to sue Disney and wanted $10 billion because he did the math, I guess. He said, I want $10 billion. That's how much you would get for the movie's gross, because maybe it's $2 billion, but also the toys, the marketing. He just came up with a really large fat number because it's Disney and they own a lot of, they can make a lot of money off of Moana. So he's tried to win. He lost that lawsuit, and then he did another one for Moana 2, also trying to sue for $10 billion. I'm surprised he didn't go for $20 billion because it's 2 movies now. So double the profit, double the lawsuit money, but he lost both entirely. He did have some sketches and stuff, but you know, Disney obviously has an army of lawyers for this, because the larger the company, the more litigious things get. You know, Nintendo's the same. So Disney definitely crushed them, even if they did steal, but apparently they won easily. Next one is The Holdovers, directed by Alexander Payne. He apparently based it off of a 30s movie called Merluce. You know, and also a teacher sort of helping a student is a very big trope of drama films. It's definitely one of the most common throughout history. Definitely stuff like The Class and Monsieur Lazare and Dangerous Minds, or detachment. There's plenty of inspiring teacher-student movies, but he was sued by Simon Stevenson for his script Frisco, which is a very similar concept, but it's a girl instead of a teenager, and it's the same sort of thing, and they go to San Francisco maybe. There was a YouTuber named Jane Mulcahy. She basically did a 55-minute video debunking the entire thing. She read the original script of Frisco, and then obviously she watched the holdovers or read the script as well and compared, and she made all the differences, that almost an hour's worth of differences. So obviously that guy lost, and because Payne said he based it off of a 30s film, so that really outdates him. However, Stevenson does have proof that Payne read his script and he submitted to him, so it could be a coincidence. It's one of those icky situations, but also the lawsuit coincides with that film trying to win Oscars. It was same for Together. The Together lawsuit was done like 2 months before the movie came out of that year, so they were trying to drum up controversy to hurt the film and sort of pressure the filmmakers into a settlement. This next one's pretty simple. Coming to America, the Eddie Murphy movie, was written by Art Buchwald, and Paramount just stole it from him, and he won easily and got a lot of money. Just very simple. He just was able to prove that he had an earlier draft or something, and they just tried to yoink it. They didn't even change anything, but he won easily. So Art Buchwald would go on to win $900,000 for this. This next one's not a movie. It's a television show called Servant. It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan and produced by Apple. And he was sued by Francesca Gregorini, who wanted $81 million, I believe, and said that it was based off of a doll movie that she wrote. It came out a few years, and Shyamalan just had to say, I didn't watch that movie, and they weren't able to prove that he stole it. A very similar concept of like a doll or something being grieved. There's also The Boy. There's a movie called The Boy. So it's grief doll movies are a dime a dozen. They've even got Lars and the Real Girl. That's just a drama. So Shyamalan won that one easily. This next one is a very underrated movie. It's called Lockout. It came out in 2012. People described it as Escape from New York, but in space. And Luc Besson definitely stole it. So he got sued by John Carpenter because this is the same as the Yojimbo Fistful of Dollars scenario, where you steal the concept but you change the genre or change elements. It's still the same movie. So having Escape from New York but on a space station was the same thing. So John Carpenter would end up winning $500,000 from Luc Besson, who had to pay out because he produced the film. I think someone else directed that one. But yeah, so that's 10 stories of Hollywood plagiarism or other versions of plagiarism that won or lost. Just wanted to talk about it.